Welcome, everybody, to Developing and Getting Started with Podcasting. I'm Kyle Hedin. I own Illustrious Hardwoods in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm also the host of the Floor Academy podcast, which is a weekly flooring business podcast released every Wednesday, wherever you can find podcasts. I've been doing that for a little over a year and a half. September will be 2 years. So I've been in the flooring business for 6 years. Actually, June, like first week of June, I hit 6 years, and been running my own flooring business for three of that. So, how do we develop and get started with podcasting? Okay, well, first we know that all businesses are based in niches. Okay, so you need to find what your niche is, whether you're a tile person, a hardwood person, you're a mom and pop shop selling flooring, or you run a donut shop. You have to have something specific you're offering, right? We don't generally start something that encompasses the entire world or all parts of a market, because then you're chasing too many things and you're never going to be successful at any of them. So we need to pick a niche that we want to be in. For me, when I started Floor Academy, what I realized by talking online with a lot of installers was that installers generally know the trade. They're very good at the hand skill part, but they lack business sense. And I didn't have the business sense per se. So I wanted to get it. So I started a podcast interviewing other successful flooring installers and retailers about business related things so that I could get the education I needed. And then I shared it with everybody else. For a retailer, you could be as specific as using your frequently asked questions as your podcast. So can I put LVP over tile? How long do projects take? Why is wood a great, value add for my home? Or you could go a different direction, right? And let's not make it necessarily about us. Let's make it about our community. So we could sponsor a podcast, but then we talk about our local community, events going on in it. You would get into different businesses, right? Go and interview all the other mom and pop businesses in your area. And then you would sponsor the podcast. Okay. So essentially you get to say all the time, hey, this is brought to you by, it's brought to you by such and such, Big Bob's Flooring Market. So you would get your advertising in there. You got to get creative. Find something that fits your personality, fits your interest, is going to excite you, right? Don't go and record it, because if you're not excited about it, you're not going to have a good time, and it's going to show. I truly enjoy having all the conversations I get to have, and I think it shows in the conversations that I have. You can hear it. You get excited to listen. So now we've got to flush out our ideas here. So how long are the episodes going to run for? When I started, I had no idea what I was doing. And so I had to figure out how to interview people just as much as I had to figure out how to run the show. So I kind of came up with this loose format, questions I would ask, how we would move through it. And the episodes were half an hour long. I tried to keep them to 30 minutes. Well, did a couple episodes that way, didn't really like it. It turned out that what I realized was I was wrapping things up as soon as they were really getting going. It takes people a while to warm up and get into it and loosen up and feel comfortable. So then they started running an hour long, and that was much better. Now I'm real loosey goosey with it. I've had episodes go an hour and a half. Um, it's anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half now, kind of just wherever the conversation goes. If there's really good content coming out, I'll let it run. I've gotten complaints from listeners that, hey man, I can't listen to this in a sitting. I can't, keep up with it. An hour and a half, an hour is too long. Well, in my opinion, the great thing about the podcast is it's digital, it's in the cloud, it doesn't go anywhere. You can resume listening at any point, and the host, like your app or whatever you're using to listen to it, remembers where you were at. It's just going to pick up right where you left off. So to me, it doesn't really matter. You just have to figure out what's going to fit your format, and it's going to take a while to figure out. It's going to take a couple episodes, 5-10 episodes, and then you'll be able to go from there. So next thing, how often and when will episodes be released? I chose to do a weekly podcast. So sometimes there's some stress with that because I try and stay like 4 to 6 weeks out in case the installation business picks up. I'm really busy and I don't have time to sit down and record. And then I come up with some time, and I might have to cram in 2 podcasts in a day recording. If I have a day off, I might have 3 podcasts scheduled in a week to get them recorded and going. But you need to know, am I going to be weekly, monthly, bi-weekly? What am I going to do? When are they going to come out? It's shown that Monday through Wednesday as a release date does work better. There tends to be more listens than a Thursday, Friday, or the weekend. I come out on a Wednesday. I arbitrarily picked that originally. It turns out I did kind of good. I know most of the podcasts I listen to come out on Monday, but I'm subscribed to almost too many that in my 8-hour workday, I can't always make it through all the content. And granted, that's good. I got something for Tuesday, but I think a lot of people, like if it's happening and you release it on a really popular day, you may not be able to pick up as many people because they already have a bunch of content that day. Last thing is what works best for your content, right? So it's a matter of, if you're doing like an FAQ podcast, right, because you're the retailer and you're answering these questions, maybe 5 to 10 minutes works just fine. If you get into doing like the community type of podcast, then maybe 30, 45 minutes, 15 minutes. You kind of got to come up with a format that you're going to follow regularly, and then you'll work yourself naturally into it. But at first I would give yourself, 15, 20 minutes on that. And then if it needs to be a little longer, it can be a little longer. If you got to shorten it because you find yourself struggling to keep things interesting as you're going and engaging, you can always scale it back. So, equipment and technology. What do you need? Well, honestly, your cell phone. If you want to make a podcast, you can make it right now with just your cell phone. You got a couple options to do that. You can either open up the recording software that's built into it. You can record right into the mic, and then you'll get that file put on a computer to where you can edit it. Or you can download an app called Anchor, and Anchor is a podcasting platform. You're gonna open it up, set up an account. You'll still record right through your microphone, but then it'll put it immediately onto their platform when you hit publish. You've got from there, you can move into so many more things. Okay, so you'll also need some editing software, most likely, if you want to make things a little cleaner, put a little more effort into it. So free programs like Audacity, which is an audio editing program, would work for you. You can start getting really fancy, okay, and you can get a mic stand and some headphones, and then you can get a mixer or a field recorder. And what else? You're going to need a microphone or 2, right? You can start investing in all of this equipment. So it can go all over the place. I've got my phone. That's a free microphone. I can buy a $20 USB microphone. I can buy a $800 microphone to record with. Um, I originally started with a mixer before I got the field recorder, and I think I paid like $50 for that. It allowed me multiple inputs, but it only has two outputs. So if you had four people talking, then there's potential crossover when you go to output the file because you have four people in and only two channels coming out. So that's not the best solution. There's things called digital audio interfaces, and we're getting kind of technical now. So essentially that will have one input, two inputs on it, 10 inputs on it, however many inputs it has in, it can give you that many outputs out. So all of the channels stay their individual channel. That way, if people are talking over each other, you can cut out the signal of somebody talking over somebody else and clearly hear what's going on. I eventually picked up my field recorder here. It's two channels, but it works really well for what I do. When I'm at Tice, when this is happening, right, as I'm walking around the convention, if I see somebody that I really want to interview, I can have some microphones and stuff in my pocket, ask them for 10, 15 minutes of their time, set it up and go. So it allows me portability, but it also gives me a really nice, clean signal when I'm in my home. I can plug it into the wall. I plug a microphone in. I hook my phone up to the other input, and I'm talking to people from all across the world. I interview people local to me because driving to them is a pain in my butt. So we just do a phone call. Everyone gets to stay where they're at, and you make it happen. So the phone goes in, my mic goes in, and you make the interview happen. You can get really fancy. There's an audio company called Rode that came out with what's called the Rodecaster. It's a mixer and a digital audio interface kind of in one. I don't even know how much it goes for. I want to say it's like $400, $600, something like that. It's got mixing effects on it, so you can, up people's bass or treble and control things like that. You can add sound effects as you go by hitting buttons. It's really fancy. Do you need it? No. Is it cool? Yes. You may find a time when you work your way up to that. So there's lots of options out there. It's finding what fits your need, and then as you grow, you can always change the equipment. So the barrier to entry is simple. You already have a cell phone. You can start podcasting right now. If you want to spend $50,000 on a proper recording studio and really fancy equipment, be my guest, have fun, but that's not where you have to start. So it's got options for everybody at all levels. What we got here? So we want to attract our listeners and subscribers. Well, getting listeners can be a challenge. I'm not going to lie. Currently, Floor Academy podcast we're doing roughly like 3,000 listens a month, a little under, a little over here and there. It all kind of averages out to about 3,000 listens a month. So about 100 listens a day on average. And I'm pretty happy with that. It's grown, the first like full month, I think I had, a couple hundred listens. So it takes work. It takes effort. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to be getting just a ton of listens at once. The other part of it is that as of May 2021, there's 2 million podcasts with over 48 million episodes. That's a lot. So you're going to be mixed in this jumble of stuff, and you have to find a way to get it out there and stand out. But within that, there is some good news, okay? So surprisingly, you only need 28 listens in your first week, and you are in the top 50% of all podcasts. It's kind of a low bar to get over. Okay, so you can feel good there. 77 listens in the first 7 days puts you in the top 25. And 254 listens in the first 7 days puts you in the top 10%. I hit those numbers sometimes. I don't hit those numbers every week. It depends on the subject of the podcast. It depends on the guests. Sometimes other guests pull more weight than others. So I would say that I probably comfortably stay in the top like 15%. Is that a big deal? I don't know. It makes me feel good. But at the end of the day, depending on what you're doing with this, the listens may not matter as much as the other things you're trying to do with it, like generate blogs and SEO content. So I wouldn't get too hung up necessarily on listens unless you're trying to attract advertisers, and that may not be a good fit for what you're doing. So listens aren't everything. You got to keep that positive mindset. So as we've already said, you have to find a niche, and flooring is a very niche market. And even within that, you can break it down. And like I said, you can be the tile person, the wood person, like you can get really small if you want. So you're not Joe Rogan, okay? You don't have content that appeals to everyone. If you're making a podcast about frequently asked questions for flooring retailers, you're really only targeting people that are interested in flooring at that particular moment. That's not a huge market, and that's why I'm saying you can't necessarily get hung up on the listens. It's the content's there, it can be found, and that's what's going to matter. Is when it's found, it's really truly doing its thing. As I said, I struggle to stay in the top 10%, and I advertise every week to thousands of people, and it's growing, but it takes time. The fun is really in making the content. For me, right? I said I wanted to get better at business, so I'm interviewing other business men and women about business, and that conversation is super fun for me. Getting the listens is an extra added benefit. Being able to share it with my brothers and sisters in the flooring community is also exciting. I like getting the feedback that it's helped them change their business or be more successful and profitable. I do have some videos that I've done in the past on my Facebook page for my installation business where I've talked about like frequently asked questions. And when you get that phone call that people say, "Hey, I watched your video. It was really informative. Thanks for taking the time to break that down for me. It helped me be able to make the decision of how I wanted to move forward with my installation." That content, I recorded it once. It's been up for over a year, and it's paying dividends all the time. So that's what these podcasts are going to do. So don't get hung up on, oh man, it only had 5 listens. If it had 5 listens and you're getting phone calls of people telling you, "Hey, I was able to hear this content," it's doing what it's meant to do. So how do we advertise it? How do we get it out there? We want to start, obviously, you have a website, I'm assuming. Most people have websites these days. If you don't, I don't think they're antiquated yet and that you should only go social media. I would encourage you to have a website. Start right there. You can put links up to it on your website. It can be integrated into it, have players built right into it. So as people are looking at it, if they find it, they can hit a play button, start getting it. It can have links to take them to Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, wherever they need to go, right? You can host this thing in all of those places and more. And so they can go to their preferred listening app and start getting the content. Write a blog about the launch. So when you get ready to launch, I don't recommend launching with one episode. Get 2, 3, 4 episodes recorded, launch them all at the same time. When people find a podcast, they generally like to binge listen. So they'll listen to one after the other, getting all the content they can. Write a blog about, hey, we just did this. We're gonna put this out on a weekly basis, a monthly basis. We're gonna answer your questions. If you have any, let us know. So now you've got it pasted on your website. You've got the blog posted about it, and that content can be searchable and found. So you've got that working for you to push it. And then you can use your email list. Every business should have an email list. I'll admit it, I'm bad and I don't. I have their emails. They're just not in a list. As a retailer, if I was pushing out content, sales, new products coming in, things like that, I probably am running a CRM, and I have that email list going. So you have a built-in way to advertise it every time an episode comes out. Hey, look, we just made this content. And then you can put in a quick, summary of it, a quick excerpt from it, and get that out to your potential clients. Your local community is going to be the biggest place you push this out, especially for the types of content that we're specifically talking about with this. So, you have your local community groups on Facebook, and you have Nextdoor, which has become a very popular website and app to use as well. So you can go into your local community groups and you can pose the questions to the people in there or on Nextdoor, and you can talk about how, hey, I know this comes up a lot in the groups. People are wondering about flooring installations and, can I install luxury vinyl plank over hardwood that's glued to concrete? Well, I've got a quick, 5-minute podcast about it. If you don't want to do that, you can find the transcription over here and breeze through that, right? You can put the content out to the people that are actually looking for it directly in your area. So, and then you can always ask, are there any questions? Do people have feedback? You're going to be able to interact with them directly. And so you're getting those interactions you want directly with the communities that you want. Subscribe, right? We want people to continue to get this content. YouTube's absolutely annoying at this point with their content creators, and hit the button below and hit the like and you have to do it. You do. You really, really do, because people aren't going to do it without constant reminders. And so it's obnoxious. The equivalent is, if you're not asking for a review at the end of every project, you're doing yourself a disservice. And so, yes, you sound like a broken record, but in order to get the reviews, you have to ask for them. In order to get the subscribers, so that those people are getting your content, you got to ask for it. You can remind them in your intro. You can record it in your outro. You could do it in the middle of the show. You've got to get the content in there somewhere, telling them, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to leave reviews. You want to, in there somewhere, encourage them to share it with their family and friends, right? Get it out there. You know anybody else that would find this interesting? Make sure they hear about it and they know what is, make sure they know how to do it. Make it easy for them. You could build an online group for interaction. So not only is there the Floor Academy podcast where, they can listen about business, I have my Floor Academy group on Facebook, and people can come in there and ask questions that aren't necessarily covered in podcasts yet. They can go back over other content that's been talked about previously. You can ask whatever you want in there as long as it's business related. If you're struggling on, how to respond to a 1-star review you got, perfect place to come in and ask. So you can build this additional community where you can get these people interacting. You as a retailer, if you get people interacting in a group to where they're interacting with you, you're the expert, you're the knowledgeable person. They're not interacting with your competitor. So you're giving them all this information. Who are they going to go with? The person that's giving them all this free information, or the person that's not giving them anything? You're building value with a potential client already. Get links out there. You can, you're going to be able to put stuff out there everywhere. You can get links. You're putting them in your local groups. You're putting it on your blog. You can anywhere you can find a way to get a post. It's the same as your website, right? You want like backlinks to it so that it's out there and searchable and can be found. Podcast hosts it's been found that they can do very well if they're selling a product. It's funny in that people spend all of their time listening to you, and so they become your friend, and it's really strange because they know all about you. They hear you on a weekly basis, giving them all this information, having these conversations, and depending on how you host it, it can be a really friendly environment when you're interviewing somebody else and there's this two-way conversation going on that somebody else gets to listen in on. And so they feel like they're your friend already, whereas you're like, well, I don't know you. This is kind of a weird situation right now. So they become very trusting. And so if you're making content, right, that's going to promote your flooring store, they're already your friend. They already know you, like you, trust you. You have to be careful with that though, because it's your reputation on the line. So you need to make sure you really know what you're doing, what you're saying. And when you're getting these reviews and things and people are coming in and like, oh man, I listen all the time and I love what you're doing, it can be kind of awkward because, like I said, they know everything about you, but you don't know anything about them. So it's good. It builds a really trusting audience, and what you say will be the like word of law. You just need to make sure that you're leading people in the right direction and that your reputation is on the line when you do this, right? You don't want to be contradicted. You don't want to be found to be saying the wrong things and telling people to do things the wrong way. So if you stick to the books and you're building that, you have that honesty and integrity, you're going to be just fine. Okay, so promotion, leads, SEO. How does this all promote your business, right? So how's it generate leads? Well, you're putting this content out there. And so that's going to help generate your leads because there's written content that's now searchable. It can be found and people can hear it. They're going to be able to get in there and listen and say, I like this person, I want it. The bigger way to generate the leads is in how it is going to generate SEO for your website, or that search engine optimized content, right? So what you're going to be able to do is transcribe all of the podcasts that happen. And that can cost you $1.25 a minute, $1.50 a minute, depending on the service you find, to it could be free. There's a service called Loom, I think, Loom, They offer a free transcription software that does a decent job from what I hear. I haven't tried it yet. You could pay someone on your staff to sit there and type everything up. And then you make a blog to go with the podcast, the transcriptions there, and it gives you all of your content. Let's see. If you take this FAQ approach, right, then people constantly struggle to write blogs for their websites. And I don't know what to write about. I don't have the content. Your salespeople every day are answering the same question over and over and over again. You're probably answering the same question over and over and over again. Your blog's right there. You don't need to struggle. Record yourself answering that frequently asked question, transcribe it. You have your blog post. The blog post is now searchable by Google. You have unique content that the other retailers, your competitors in your area don't have. You're going to be found more often when these things are searched in your area. Okay, so this is how you're getting that SEO content. It's how you're going to get the leads and generate business for your store naturally without paying anything other than, you got to pay somebody to record the content, right? That's much cheaper than paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars to Google over and over again. And not that you're going to stop doing that, but this will help generate stuff as well. So the episodes become the blogs, right? We're using this transcription service. That's going to generate your SEO and your business. You should see an uptick in it as long as you continue to put out brand new content. You can't copy and paste stuff and use it again over here. It all needs to be new and unique all the time. The more, and like I said, the other stores aren't going to have it. So you have a leg up on them now, and you're going to start pulling in more stuff. Episodes are endless, okay? We can do anything we want, right? You can do any frequently asked question. You can talk about new products coming in. You can interview your staff or team members and let people get to know them that way. You can talk about your company's history, the values. As long as it's related to your store, your business, you're going to be okay. Keep it in that field, but it gives you an endless amount of things to talk about and generate content that people may find interesting. No, not everyone's going to want to know the history of your business, but there are some people that love reading that stuff and love seeing that it's been around for 50 years and Grandpa George started it. And now the grandson Timmy is running it, and it stayed in the family, and everybody is truly passionate about flooring. It may be a story that really intrigues people and helps put you over the top versus somebody else that doesn't have anything about them other than we were founded in 1996. We've been doing it 20 years, and we're really good at it. So it's endless. So what are you waiting for? The barrier to entry is low. We went over it. You can start with your phone. The equipment and the hosting is really cheap, right? You can do it with your phone. You can do it with like a $200 investment. Your content is coming out of your staff's mouth every day, if not yours. So why not promote your business in a way that the ever growing world is adapting to? Podcasts aren't going away. They're only getting more popular. Hop on board while it's still the early days of it and get ahead of your competition. Thank you for listening. And if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me.